Hello, music fans. It's that time of the week again. Time to count down my favorite albums that came out over the past week in metal, rock, and prog. You're watching the Death by Unicorn channel, and let's jump right in. I'll talk about them in my order of preference. I listened to 9 albums. My favorite over the past week was District 97. All these albums came out on October 20th. District 97 released their 5th album called Stay for the Ending. This is progressive rock. It's got some metal influences in there. It's the 5th album by this American band. Powerful female vocals by Leslie Hunt, who was an American Idol finalist back in season 6, which aired in 2007. It's really great to hear someone from that American Idol world, a world that usually focuses on simple pop music, work in such a progressive band afterwards. There are great male and female harmonies on some of the tracks on here. There's some chunky metal riffs from time to time. A lot of the music sounds pretty eclectic. The melodies are very atypical but fun to listen to. Same with the rhythms. My favorite track on first listen was Crossfaded. And this album just shot straight up into my top 20 of the year so far. I immediately started listening to their entire back catalog. What an amazing band. I'll follow them closely from now on. It sounds like Porcupine Tree meets King Crimson meets Kate Bush. So if you like the sounds of that, check this out. The second favorite album over the past week was Lalu and their album The Fish Who Wanted to Be King. This is progressive rock, and it's the 4th album by this French band. I love everything they've done before this, and this is also a great album. I do prefer their previous albums though, as they had a bit more of a metal edge to them, and every song on their first 3 albums is great. But this, however, is the softest album they've done to this point, to the point where I would classify this as just progressive rock rather than progressive metal. There's no harsh vocals or guitar chugging or blast beat drumming or not even much distortion. I think it's more for fans of classic Yes material from the 70s. My favorite track on here was Forever Digital, the opening track. And the album also has a 14-minute prog epic called Amnesia 1916, which touches on a lot of different styles in one song. That's my next favorite on the album. And even though this is currently my least favorite album by Lalu, they're just such a great band that this will still likely make my top 50 albums of the year. Not every song on here is great though. I didn't love the 4th track, Is That a London Number, which was a single for the album. It's okay, but it just doesn't live up to the quality of the rest of the album for me. Next, I want to talk about an EP by the Callous Daoboys called God Smiles Upon the Callous Daoboys. Now this is mathcore with metalcore and post-hardcore influences. This is such an excellent band from the US. I heard the single Wacko Jesus before the release, and it's awesome. It reminds me of the Dillinger Escape Plan, but it's even catchier than most of their songs. The other 2 songs on the EP continue in that spirit. They have great guitar parts, catchy clean vocals, as well as intense screams and chugging guitars. Next up, let's talk about Rival Sons and their album Lightbringer. This is more hard rock with blues influences, and they even went a little proggy on this one. This is the 8th album by this American band. The opening track, Dark Fighter, is such an awesome opening song. It's pretty progressive. And I like this album, Lightbringer, even better than their earlier album from this year, which was called Dark Fighter. So they've released 2 albums this year. This is the one I like more. I think it's a little bit more progressive and less straightforward, more interesting song structures and compositions. Really well performed. It's kind of like a Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple kind of sound. So check it out if you like the sounds of that. And next up, I want to talk about Small Leaks Sink Ships and their new album Low Tide. Thanks to Kyle over on All Media Reviews for recommending this album to me. This is art rock with indie pop and progressive influences, and It's their fourth album. They're an American band. I think if you're a fan of bands like Alt J and Modest Mouse, you'll like this. It's that kind of intelligent, artsy, kind of progressive indie pop rock. And it strangely has a cover of Girls Just Want to Have Fun on it, which is kind of interesting to hear that done in an artsy indie rock approach. The whole album's pretty solid. It's not sure if this will make my top 100 of the year yet. It's been a great year for music, but definitely an interesting album, and I'm curious to check out more of their material from the past. Next up, let's talk about a big popular one, Blink-182 and their album One More Time. So this is more on the pop punk side, and I don't usually talk too much about stuff in that genre. It's got some alternative rock influences as well. It's the 9th album by this legendary American band. For me, Blink-182, Green Day, Sum 41, those three are kind of the kings of pop punk. I don't usually listen to or love much pop punk, but I can't help but enjoy these bands when they're at their best. All those bands have some hit or miss material in their discography. They're not always good, but when they hit really hard. This album, I think, is a great hit of nostalgia. It's a bit ridiculous, though, to hear guys this old sounding like they're just as full of teen angst as they were in their 90s. But my favorite tracks on first listen were One More Time, which is a sad ballad, and then Turpentine, which switches from 4 beats to 6 beats per bar, so it's kind of the proggiest song on the album, I guess. I've got 3 more to talk about that came out on October 20th that I checked out. Next one is Ozric Tentacles and their album Lotus Unfolding. This is instrumental psychedelic space rock with progressive influences in there. It's either the 17th or the 23rd album by this band from the UK. If you count their first 6 cassette-only releases, it's the 23rd album. Very nice instrumental album, but I feel like I'd prefer it if they had some great vocals on top here, because there's not too much in this music that hooks me. The guitar playing, the other instrumentalists are all great. Probably won't make my top 100 of the year or anything like that, but it's nice to listen to when it's on, and it's impressive, but it's just missing something that's going to hook me and bring me back. Next, I want to talk about the album Afterbirth, or the band Afterbirth, and their album In But Not Of. This is progressive death metal, and it's the 3rd album by this American band. I checked this out after I saw a review on the Rhyme Signatures YouTube channel. The guttural vocals are very low and gurgly like a frog. It's a bit too brutal for my taste, but I can still appreciate it. Probably won't go back to it much though. And lastly, I want to talk about the Rolling Stones, another huge band releasing an album this year on October 20th, and their album's called Hackney Diamonds. This is pop rock with blues influences, and it's the 24th album by Rolling Stones, a legendary English band. And this is fine. It's just fine. It's nothing I'm too excited by. I just listen to it because they're a big name. There's some notable guest appearances. Paul McCartney, Elton John, Lady Gaga. Everyone does a good job. But the songs here by the Rolling Stones are just a little on the safe and boring side for me. I'm sure longtime fans of the Rolling Stones will just be happy to hear they're still putting out music and still performing well. For me, I probably won't listen to it again, but I think it was neat to check out once, so my recommendation is just check it out once if you like the Rolling Stones or if you're just curious about what they sound like now. And that's it for these 9 albums that I listened to that came out on October 20th. Let me know what you think of these. What are your opinions on them down in the comments? Is there anything else that came out recently in metal, rock, and prog that you want me to check out? Also let me know down in the comments and I'll check it out. And until next time, peace out.